A lawyer friend of mine just won a domestic violence appeal on behalf of a woman whose own father had actually served her with the divorce papers and with the domestic violence petition filed by her husband. And he's paying for the lawyer fees for the original case in Superior Court as well as for the appeal. Wife filed, and she claimed domestic violence on the part of the husband against her. The trial court concluded that any injuries the husband had were as a result of wife trying to defend herself. And the court ordered her to keep her children away from her parents, saying that they were in the total orbit of the husband. That's the word he used, in the orbit of the husband, and that they were adverse and dangerous to the children. So the husband appealed. He said, first of all, the wife was not believable, that she was the one that was picking on him. And he said that it was violating the due process rights of the grandparents to order them away from the kids. Well, the Court of Appeals said, first of all, with the grandparents, that the court didn't order them to do anything. They ordered the mother to keep her kids away from those people. And also he said that the wife's any injuries she inflicted were defensive, that she was defending herself against him, and the court found her totally believable. But this is not uncommon in domestic violence cases, that a man can isolate a woman from all her former friends and from her relatives. When I was lawyering, I had many divorce cases where the wife had suffered from abuse for some years. But this was in the late 70s, and domestic violence was becoming talked about. It had been more of a secret before that time. So women were beginning to say, I don't have to live this way anymore. And domestic violence was a public issue, and the courts were paying attention to it. But in an interview one time with one client, I said to the woman as she was telling her story, I said, and he cut you off from all your friends. And she says, how did you know that? It was so typical. Every domestic violence case I had, the man had alienated her from her friends, and in some cases from her family. Now this can happen also. Women can do the same thing to men. I have two friends that this happened to. One told about being in court with his friend for his divorce, and that the poor man was all alone, that all his relatives were on the wife's side of the court. So beware of sociopaths and narcissists, and you might try reading some books, like there's the five types of people who can ruin your life by Bill Eddy. I do mention that book in my divorce handbook and my marriage license handbook. So and then if you want to learn further what people to avoid, the same author, Bill Eddy, along with his partner Megan Hunter, wrote Dating Radar. And it tells you why your brain says yes to the one who will make your life a living hell. I'm sure that if it didn't happen to you, you know somebody that said yes and was wonderfully in love with some person that turned out to make their life the living hell. So there are more good ones. If you'd like to understand how a person can do this to your life, then I recommend Lundy Bancroft's book. He does a lot of domestic violence training, or so-called anger management training for men. And he says they never do recover. But from all the stories he's heard from both men and women, he wrote this book. Why does he do that? And then it tells you the whole process and how the alienation process works. It's a good cautionary tale. Bill Eddy is the founder of a High Conflict Institute in San Diego, but he does a lot of work online, and he does training, and he's available for consulting. In any case, he wrote He wrote a book for the courts, managing high conflict people in court. I gave it to the supervising judge in Orange County one time, and I thought, hey, maybe they had an influence on this woman's case that I cited, where the trial court found her believable and the husband responsible. The court website is available for a lot of interesting information. In Orange County, it's occourts.com. Plus, the Judicial Council has a lot of interesting information and stories. You can just Google www.courts.ca.gov, and it'll take you to the Judicial Council, and there's a wealth of information, and it's easy to read. I recommend that highly. So, and it'd be fun too.